the SEC real quickly. So for those who don't know, the SEC announced they're moving to a 9-conference game schedule in the 2026 season and on. And the SEC has only played 8 conference games since 1992, right? So on top of the fact that's one extra SEC game each team must play, they're also required to play, and I quote, a quality non-conference Power 4 opponent every year. I'll say that again, a quality non-conference Power 4 opponent every year. So Alabama, I don't think, is going to be able to schedule Purdue, right, as their non-conference opponent. Okay, Oklahoma isn't going to be able to go and schedule Oregon State. All right, no disrespect to those teams, but I believe what Greg Sankey meant by quality non-conference opponent is someone that a majority of the country, no matter what conference they're from or no matter what team they root for, could be like, all right, that's a good win, right? And a little going back into the SEC section of this decision, they'll have 3 annual opponents and 6 rotating opponents. So I think it'll be very interesting to see what teams will have to play who every single year. From what I heard, there will not be any divisions. I know there is 16 teams in the SEC, so some people theorize it could be 4 divisions of 4. However, Greg Sankey said it's still going to be just a wide open conference play. And they finally joined the Big Ten and Big 12 with a 9-conference game schedule. Those other 2 conferences already had it for quite a while now. But just an overview of that, but I want to give my personal thoughts on that. Firstly, I think this is a direct response to the College Football Playoff Committee's announcement on a bigger emphasis on strength of schedule. Look at last season. 9-3 Ole Miss, 9-3 Alabama, 9-3 South Carolina, missing out compared to a 10-2 Indiana, who was 0-2 against the top 25 teams they played, 0 wins over top 25 opponents. And then 11-2 SMU, who lost to BYU early and also lost to Clemson, which the South Carolina team went into the last game of the regular season and beat in Death Valley. So it's clear that the SEC believes their league is deeper, and they believe the fact that their league is so deep that each team, or the conference, basically cannibalizes itself at the tier 2 to high tier 3 level. I mean, the fact that the committee has said this, on top of the fact that the SEC is now making this move to a 9-conference game schedule, I think it's just a sign the SEC is putting the ball back into the Big Ten's court, saying, hey, we see how the CFP's committee is going to change their viewpoint on things. We know we have the deeper conference. For the past couple of years, your best teams may have beat our best teams, but as a conference, we are deeper. So what are you going to do about it now? So my next thought, the SEC is advocating for a 5+11 model for the college football playoff. The contract for this one is going to end, I believe, after this season. And you might be asking, 5+11, that's 16. Yes, you're right. The SEC wants a 16-team playoff. I personally thought 10 should have been the limit. Whenever we were talking about playoff expansion from the 4-team, I thought, you think top 25, top 20, top 10. You don't think top 12, right? You think top 10 or top 5, right? So, but instead of complaining or sitting here and just saying, hey, go back to 10, it's clear that all trends are going towards probably a 16-team playoff. But the question is now, how is it going to be formatted? But back to my main point, the SEC is advocating for a 5+11 model, where the 5 conference champions are given a playoff spot and the 11 other seeds are at large. Now, obviously this benefits the SEC if they get what they want, because think about it. Let's say Texas wins SEC this year. All right? I can guarantee if you have 11 other spots that are at large after the 4 other conference champions, Georgia should be able to make it. Alabama should be able to make it. South Carolina could make it. LSU could make it at the end of this season. A vast majority of the teams in the SEC could have a valid argument or be right on the bubble of a playoff now that you have 11 seeds that are at large. Now, this differentiates from the Big Ten's advocated AQ model, where each conference is guaranteed a certain amount of spots. So, for example, the Big Ten would have 4 guaranteed spots. No matter how the rankings sort out, they have 4 spots. SEC has 4. The ACC has 2, the Big 12 has 1, and then Group of 5 conferences also have 1. So it's very clear that both conferences and both commissioners for each conference are trying to play to the strengths of said conference. SEC may not have the best team in the country these past couple years, but they know they have a deeper conference. All right. However, the Big Ten is not as deep as the SEC by any way whatsoever, but their top teams, Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, have proved to be better than the SEC's top Texas, Georgia, Alabama in the past 2 to 3 years. So it's all about what these conferences are doing, what's best for them. And honestly, I think it's going to be very interesting on how this shapes out. I think the SEC made a big move now. They put the ball back into the Big Ten's court, and I think it's going to be pretty interesting.